Well, okay, everybody, here we are. You and me. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. This is my post-market wrap-up on this April 8th, Friday. Happy birthday, Lisa. Lisa's my sister, by the way. Happy birthday, Lisa. Let's all sing her happy birthday. How about, you don't want to hear me sing, do you? No. Well, happy birthday anyway, Lisa. All right, look, so here we go. We made it through another week in the freak show, people, but it keeps getting freakier. We have a couple of things in the works. One of them is a little frightening, and the other one is more interesting. Let's start off with the interesting one first. We got a pretty interesting warning from Bank of America with regard to commodity prices, and we're going to talk more about that. We also found out that Iran and Saudi Arabia are now willing, and this is why I'm afraid, to sell their oil in their own currency, circumventing the petrodollar system. Now, this will not stand. We understand how this works. You got a system here in place called the Petrol Dollar, and that mechanism is in fact backed by the full military might of the U.S. Armed Forces. So with that said, I feel like there is the possibility of an escalation of war, and we'll see how that plays out here, because it will not be allowed. The Federal Reserve has gone way out of their way to make sure that the petrodollar system stays in effect. This one mechanism, the petrodollar, is what keeps the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. And that gives the Federal Reserve enormous, and I cannot underscore that word enough, enormous power, and they will not give that up. If that means they have to point that the military might of the U.S. Armed Forces at whoever they want to point it at, they will. They will create reasons to do it. And in this environment, again, we already have the scapegoat for inflation, and we know where it is. Everyone's pointing at Russia. Russia. It's not the central banks. It's not the Federal Reserve. No. It's Russia. And I think if they were to expand more wars, look what's going on, people. From this war over Ukraine and Russia, nations around the world are arming themselves to the teeth and beyond that, replacing old weaponry with new weaponry. Deals are going on all over the place. Arms deals, billions, hundreds of billions. It's going to be in the trillions of dollars flying around this planet as this new Cold War, this new arms race is kicking off in a big way. And we knew this. We know this was, what is it really about? What is all of this really about? Again, the propagation of war, the expansion of war, the whole war machine generates more cash than any other endeavor on the planet Earth, and then some. So with this whole thing with Iran and Saudi Arabia here, I don't know. Let's see how that thing plays out. The Fed doesn't like it. And again, they have an awesome arsenal standing behind them. The enforcement arm of the Federal Reserve is the U.S. military. And I think we all know that. The petrodollar exists for that purpose, and it will be defended at the cost of millions, tens of millions of lives. It will not matter. Anyway, with that said, let us look over here back at the market. So on top of this market ending mixed, like I said, Dow Jones Industrial Average higher, S&P 500, NASDAQ a little bit lower here today. Energy and financial stocks doing phenomenal. Actually, you even got consumer staples doing very, very well. And not all tech stocks are falling under pressure, but the NASDAQ as a whole, again. And this is the rising rate environment. You know, there's a big adjustment period going on here. the market pricing in rate hikes. And you know how the market is. It's very nervous about everything that's going on. I think once the adjustment period is over, well, being that we understand clearly, at least I hope you do, that you haven't seen anything yet with regard to central banks inflating. As a matter of fact, let's cover some of that. So this is what we heard today from Bank of America. And listen to this stunning admission. What have you and I been fist-fed and forced to swallow? Buckets full of shit. You know, that's what they want. You know, our economy is booming. We're so strong. Everyone is rich. Blah, blah, blah. It's all fake. It's all propaganda. But this is Bank of America. The U.S. economic picture is deteriorating fast. Now, here's the kicker. Prepare for inflation shock. Inflation shock. Like people aren't already shocked. What did we find out this morning? The United Nations Global Price Index just hit an all-time high, but it's transitory. You know that because the Fed's been saying it's been transitory since day one. I don't know how long now that's going on. You and I laughing in their face because we knew it would not be transitory, but they're still trying to sell that lie in certain parts of the world. Christine Lagarde is still trying to sell the inflation transitory narrative, okay? No, it's going to get much, much worse. Commodity prices are going to balloon. And we haven't seen anything yet. The real commodity explosion, if that's what you want to call it, is going to occur when? When is that going to happen? If you've been following my work, you know exactly. When the debt market implodes. Debt market implosion will crush the stock market and the cash. Where does cash not go? That's right. It doesn't go to money heaven. It doesn't sprout little angel wings and fly away. No, it simply moves from one set of assets into another. That's how it always does. The fluidity of money. Look it up. It's one of my theories from years ago. Anyway, cash is just going to move big time into commodities, and that's going to be a moment that people are not going to believe moving forward. It's going to lead to a massive resource problem. And that is when you are going to see pandemonium break out in the streets. Again, look, they're already preparing you for it. Control mechanisms, and whatever. They want you compliant. They want you a little compliant freak. That's what they want you to do. They want you in the corner sucking your thumb. You want to see what it looks like? That's what they want you to do. No, but you're not going to do that. No way. Because we're going to weaponize this system against them. Okay, it's to the best of our ability. But that's what they want. Little compliant crybaby freaks. Okay, and I know that's not you if you follow this blog. So you got to get yourself on the right side of this. Oil and gas producers, you know that. Commodity exposure, you need it. You know my take on financials. Look, they got beat up lately. But we're going to see how this is going to play out as we now move into earnings season. And that's going to be pretty epic in my view. So anyway, so I want you, don't listen to Greg Mannarino anymore. Listen to, Bank of America. Prepare for inflation shock. Well, you see, I think there's a group of people out here that really do buy the bullshit. They think that the Federal Reserve and central banks really care about them. They really do. And they think the Fed really wants to slow down inflation. Oh, yeah. You see, these people have been duped. And they're in some kind of an alternate reality. They don't understand what's happening to them. They don't understand that they're being deliberately attacked. And it's a pretty astounding thing to see unfold here. Everything that you and I have spoken about for years is happening now. Savings rates evaporating, people borrowing beyond their eyeballs just to make ends meet. Prior members of the middle class here clawing themselves, trying to stay or maintain the illusion of a middle class existence. Meanwhile, they're going right down to the lower rung. They're going to be made slaves. Like this entire system is designed to make slaves of individuals and slave nations to the central banks, who are the one world government that we have all known would come at one point. Well, we have it now. And they're going to use other mechanisms, people. More fear, obviously more propaganda, more, I think, honestly, especially in light of this Iran and Saudi Arabia issue, that they're now willing to sell oil in their own currency. That should scare you a little bit, because remember what they're going to do. They're going to splatter human blood and guts all over the place just to maintain power. I'm talking about the petrodollar. And I think that should be pretty obvious to you. Do you believe for a nanosecond that the Federal Reserve is going to allow this to go unchecked? So just wait for it. Wait for it. Now, here's another thing I want to bring to your attention. It's obviously to you and me that we've been hearing all this talk every day. You turn on any of the freaking propaganda ministry freak shows, and you're going to hear about recession, 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 recession. You know what that tells me? That tells me that the polar opposite is going to happen. I don't know, people. That's how I operate. I am not saying that people are not being made to suffer. They clearly are. But we're seeing a demographic shift here, okay? Wealth continues to be pushed right up the food chain, all right? Wealth just doesn't magically disappear and reappear. Oh, it disappears here and reappears here. No, that doesn't happen by magic at all. Wealth is simply being transferred right up to the 1% and 2%ers. And they are getting more rich and more powerful than they ever have in history. Over the last 3 presidents, literally the last 3, the current freak, the Trump freak, and the Obama freak. Okay, now this current super freak. She's a super freak. I gotta listen to that song. Anyway, you don't want to hear me sing. But anyway, so what's going on here is, all the wealth that used to be held by middle class people, because the people on the lower rung, they're done, all right? That's being now pushed up to the 1% and 2%ers. They're still spending. They're buying fancy cars and big houses that have pools put in, and what else? They're sending their kids to private school and everything else, while everyone else is suffering. While everyone else continues to go through their savings accounts and borrow beyond their eyeballs. And that's the key. American citizens, it just seems like they are addicted, hardcore addicted to spending, addicted to being a slave. Maybe they want to make themselves slaves. I don't know. But they're not stopping. They are relentlessly, continually borrowing. So recession or not, they're going to still borrow, and they're going to still spend. And especially the people in the upper echelon of society who drive this whole thing, they're going to spend, and they're going to spend a lot. So look, with all this talk of recession, let's see where it goes. Right now, look, this market is sincerely not far off of record highs. We're like 6% off of a record high for the Dow and the S&P 500, like 12% for the NASDAQ-ish, something along those lines. But all this talk is just, look, when I hear so much of one thing, I got to start looking at the other side of it. I got to say, hold on a minute. Too many people over here calling for recession, which would be a step up from where we are. You will know that. But that's just how my brain works. Too many people over here, you got to look at the other side. You got to look the other way. Is it some kind of a distraction? I don't know. But when you have a major bank talking about inflation shock, look, you knew this anyway. We discussed it right here. Absolutely inflation shock, and we haven't seen anything yet. It's going to get a lot worse. And I'll tell you something else. These band-aids that have been placed on the energy market here, I'm talking about crude oil, they're nothing but band-aids, and these band-aids are going to fall off. And you're going to see crude surge. We already got another move higher today, 2% on crude. We're hovering somewhere around $100 a barrel. Well, just don't get used to that, because it's going much, much, much higher, especially if, this war over there escalates, which it will, and this whole other thing with Iran and Saudi Arabia. Let's see where that goes. I want to hear from you. What do you think about that? What do you think about Iran and Saudi Arabia circumventing the petrodollar means more nations are going to do it too. Understanding that the Fed will defend that using the entire military might of the U.S. Armed Forces. So just be ready for it, people. Be ready. All right, look. So what is this? It's Friday. And what does that mean? Well, I'm going to leave you off with my favorite 3 things. But before we get there, you're going to see me on Sunday for my markets a look ahead. I look forward to that. I think it's going to be just freaking lovely, as always. But right now, bring it in. No one's looking. Bring it in. Bring it in. Love each other. Care about each other. Be charitable. Yes, I will see you on Sunday. Looking forward to it. Please share the video. Get it out there. And let me know what you think. People, please comment. I love reading the comments. So let me know what you think. I'm out of here.